Wachari Nation Building Monday Live. And as usual, this is a very informative discussion that we have in store for you as we work on building a nation of Garinagu, a nation by Garinagu, a nation in the best interest of Garinagu. And we promised that we would be discussing the survey that was done recently for Garifuna people in relation to Garifuna land rights. And so we're going to continue our discussion tonight. And we will hear from Marley Chatouillet, who is a part of Wachari Enterprises board, what the findings look like initially for this survey that was conducted. And persons had up to Saturday to complete the questionnaire. It was in circulation and it was targeting Garinagu here in Belize and finding out several things. So you're going to get a glimpse at what the questions were and what people responded. This information, as Marla will share, will be used by Wachari to determine next steps. There is so much that needs to be done for our people, especially in relation to asserting our land rights. And so this was an opportunity to consult with you, with the people, and get feedback from the people about where we should go from here. I don't know of any such consultation or research attempt being done before, specifically addressing Garifuna land rights. I am not aware of any. And so I am looking forward to hearing what the findings of this particular survey will reveal to us. And so I want to welcome my two brethren who will be in the discussion. We have been in this discussion for the past couple of weeks. We have Brother Joseph Guerrero and of course, Brother Marley Chatouillet Nunez. And so let's dive right in. Saturday was the closing time. How many people essentially gave their feedback? What are we looking at in terms of the findings of this study?
Yeah, BT Goyon, good night all. Good night all viewers, listeners. So we got some very interesting results, and I'm excited. I'm ready to share with the audience. I'm sure the people who took the survey really want to know what the results are also. So if you can make me host IFA so I can share my screen, because I want the audience to take a look at the result. Joe, I don't know if you want to say anything before we start sharing the results here. Right. So yes, the responses we got 250 responses amazingly within 2 weeks time. I wish we had promote more, have more time to promote.
Brother Marley, may I please?
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I wanted you to, if you could please share with the audience why you felt we had to do the survey, Wagia felt they had to do a survey, and what was the aim of the survey? Can you share that with the audience, please?
Sure. If I touched a little bit on it earlier, just before I spoke. So the reasons for the survey is to try to clear some of the confusion that's in the air right now, whereby there are people saying, oh, Garinagu does not want to do anything with land rights. Garinagu does not want to go to court. Garinagu are not interested in fighting for land rights. But so the survey proves otherwise. So it was important to do this survey so we get a feedback from Garinagu. We get a feedback from the people who are being affected when it comes to land rights. Remember, it's important that we gather information so we can move collectively with the information that we have. There is no way we can take word from one individual or one entity to guide us all without our input or without us having a say in what they do. So this survey is a plus, this survey is a guide to what we should do. This survey will guide us towards how we will help our people, how we will help each other. And with all that said, the survey is done, the polls are closed, and the results are here. Now, Garinago can see what are the possibilities, right? What are the possibilities moving forward from here? I don't know if you want to add more to that, Aoife.
Well, I think that one of the things that's very important when it comes to research, right? People, we make assumptions a lot in our life. It's the way it seems we've been socialized. So we think things and we believe things and we assume things. But the value of conducting research is so that we can actually validate what we are thinking, what our views are, because then we get feedback from others, we get their responses. And this is why when you are conducting a study, you ask for your respondents to be honest and you guarantee them their security. You guarantee them confidentiality, that the information that they share with you will remain protected. So at the end of the day, it's not about the individuals that answer the questions. In that, when I say that, it's of course important that the people that answer are actually qualified to answer. So for example, if we're going to be talking about Garifuna land rights, then clearly you're not going to China to ask people from China about Garifuna land rights. Your target population is a particular group of people. And so once the people that respond are qualified, they are Garifuna, they self-identify as Garifuna, then their responses have merit because they are the people you're targeting to get responses from. So you move from being at a place of uncertainty or a place of making assumptions to now being where you can actually establish to some degree facts, at least based on what your respondents have said. And when you're looking at it from a quantitative standpoint, then you would aim to generalize that information. So because you picked a certain number of people and you're saying this number of people represent the population, the wider population, that's my target population, the actual population, that's my target population, being Garifuna people living in Belize, then we can agree that because this number of persons say this particular thing, then it's fair to conclude that if we were able to speak to everybody that's Garifuna, they would be saying this same thing. That's what the pattern is leaning to. So when you're talking about research, you're looking at getting that information and being able to say for certain that this number of persons said this. And trusting, I mean, there are always areas of error. You have the margin of error and things like that. But you've moved away from just forming an opinion without knowing for sure what people are thinking and what people are saying. And a survey is just one quick and easy way to get quick response. But there are other things that can be done that are even more in-depth. So apart from this survey, Wachari enterprises can actually engage in focus group or in some interviews and things like that. There are other things that can be done also to gather more information and even more in-depth information from this population, right? So it's good to find out what people are thinking and it not just be informal. When you do the survey, you also move it from that informal place to something more formal, right? Because you can now analyze what people have said and draw some conclusions. So the research is something that's an important step to take, and it will provide a lot of information that we didn't have before today. We didn't have this information before we did the survey. So now that the survey has been done, we can say much more, and we can say it from the 258, as what I can see on the screen, the 258 people that responded, we can say for sure that these persons said this, and go and run with that. And if we choose to, we could even speak to more people. Like I said, if we do focus group discussions, if we do interviews, we would definitely increase that number as well. So yeah, it's good that this step has been taken, because like I said, I had never heard of it done before. I'd never participated in such before, and it's not too late for something like this to be done, and it is important for it to be done. So I'm seeing there that the majority of the respondents did identify as Garifuna. That blue is overwhelming there, and which is what we were aiming for, right? That it be Garifuna people who completed the survey. So when you look at it, 96.9% said that they were Garifuna. You see, the yes is blue and the red is no, and it's mostly blue.
The question was, are you a Garifuna? That was the first question.
Yeah, that was, so that's the first question.
Right, and the blue is yes, and the red is no.
No.
So as you said, Ifa, the overwhelming majority of people who took the survey are Garinaga.
Yes, and that was the aim. That was the aim. The aim was to get Garinaga to do the survey. Even though the minority there, which are non-Garinaga, their input is still counted, right? Because what they have a feel for Garinaga, that's why they are involved in Garinaga business. That's a sure. So 96.9% of the people who took the survey are Garinaga, somewhere Garinaga. And then so that leaves us with 3.1% non-Garinaga participating with us, enjoying the survey. And so when you break it down into solid numbers, you get 249 people, right? Out of 258 responses answered the first question, right? So that leaves us with eight persons saying they are not Garifuna, which is okay. But like I said, they participated. They have some kind of interest in the survey. And to me, that 96.9%, that's a good number for a survey, for a Garifuna survey, to say that Garinaga participated that much, right? 96.9%. So that's the first question for, are you a Garifuna? 96.9% of the people who took the survey said yes, they are Garinaga. To that question. Okay.
So what was the next question?
So the next question is age range. What age range are you in? So we have so we know the dynamics of who we are dealing with, right? Make sure it's not just only teens, it's not only elderly or kids, right? So we have a dynamic of different age range who took the survey. And if you can see there, the largest group, or maybe we can start from the smallest group between 5 and 17, we got 1.6 out of 258 persons who responded to that. 1.6% are between the ages of 5 and 17. That just show that we do have kids, I will refer to them, kids and young teenagers who do take interest in the survey, right? And that's a good place to start with the younger generation, the kids and the younger teens, right? So their involvement, if they should keep this little momentum that they have, they will eventually take on the challenge that Garinago are facing. Right? So I'm very proud of those youths who took that survey at that age. And
Well,
then
and the thing is, we are in a young population as well, because I'm watching the 18 to 49 bracket, and that's where the majority is right there.
Right.
It speaks to the reality in our country. We have a young population.
Yes, so the other group, other age range is between 18 and 30, whereby it's 26 point. Oh no, I'm sorry.
Yes.
The other age range is between. No, I'm
going 18
by,
to 30.
Yeah, 18 to 30. Sorry, 18 to 30. We got 26.7% participation from between 18 to 30 years of age, and again, it shows the interest that they have, right, in the land rights case. I mean, it's very important to get the feedback from the age ranges to know how much we have in the arsenal to move forward, right? Because remember, they are going to take on the battle from here, right? And then we move on to the 31 years to 49 years, right? They took the largest, more than 50% of the survey, right? I think they are the ones who are mostly involved with the social media, right? And they found the survey real easy and they participated. So I got 50.8%, right? With the age range between 31 and 49. So a lot of education needs to be done with the age range between 31 and 49. It shows that they are more interested about Garinago land right?
And it makes sense because a lot of them, this is the age range that would also have own land or be facing issues with land rights.
Right. So they are the one to fill the gap now, that age range between 31 and 49. We need them to fill the gap now, like right now, right? So the next age range is 50 and above, right? 50 and above, we got 20.9%, 50 and above, and 50 and above speaks volumes, right? They are the one in charge right now. So they see a different picture from the youths coming up. The youths coming up is still trying to see a picture, while the people between 50 and above already seen a better picture and knows what we are facing right now, right? So 50 and above, we got 20.9%, which is very good. A high interest there. Yeah. I don't know if you want to say anything there before I move on.
No, because we're interested in the findings. So bring it on. Everybody's who's tuned in and all of that. It's because we want to know what these findings are saying.
Right.
So move right along. Because it's not a lot of questions. That was another good thing about this survey, was easy to complete.
Yeah, and the questions are plain and simple. It's easy to answer, right? So the third question is, do you have any kind of knowledge about Garinago communal land rights? Right? We have 257 people answering this question, and 63% said they have no knowledge about Garinago communal land rights. And that's a wow, right?
Yeah.
That's a wow.
You're looking at that about
Then,
161 people
right, right,
knowing nothing
160,
about communal land rights.
right, you know? So that shows that the education is needed,
Yes.
and it is needed now, right? So out of that 257 people, we have 96 people who said yes, they have a little bit of knowledge about Garinago communal land rights. And I'm asking those people, I'm encouraging those people to hold on to that knowledge, share that knowledge, spread the word. And the little bit that you know, or if you know a whole lot, share it so the word can reach out. Educate the youth, educate even the elderly who doesn't know, educate them. So share that knowledge that you have about Garifuna communal land right. And we invite you to come on this show one of these nights too, right? So we have 37% who said, oh, no, sorry, I was wrong. Sorry, I was wrong. 37% who said yes, who knows, right? I was saying the 63% who said that they know. I was telling them to share, but I was wrong. Sorry about that. So the 37% who knows, I'm asking you to share your knowledge with us, right? Share your communal land rights knowledge with us, right? Joe, I don't know if you want to jump in there before I move on. We're good. Moving on.
Hi, yeah, 1 second, please. That's an important question. What people know, or if they have any knowledge about Garifuna land rights, because we don't want to make decisions to negotiate with the government when the people don't know about the rights that are being negotiated away.
Yeah,
So
and it
that
gives, I
is
think
very
it
important.
this particular question provides an opportunity or a point of action for Wachari Enterprises, which is some kind of information or education campaign to let Garinago understand what communal land rights are all about and why they are so important,
You know, I
right?
can give an example with the Maya.
Mhm.
Now, during the case with the company that was drilling for oil and there was no pre prior and informed consent, one group of Maya were being told that if they don't get their land title, they can't go to the bank, get a loan, and build a home or build a business. That's what they were told, which is true. But what they were not told is that any indigenous people with land has several options at financing because of the fact that it is indigenous land. And all they have to do is the research and get those financial systems within their particular territory. So the Maya were being enabled by the oil company. The ones who wanted title were being enabled by the oil company. They were being put on TV, all kinds of things, for them to spread the wrong message or misinformation that we without our title we can't go to the bank. So they didn't have the information that yes, there are other systems, financial systems for indigenous people. And that was one of the major things that happened to the Maya. Now, I'm saying this to say they did not know. And so they were easily manipulated by the oil company. The fact that so many Garinaga do not know about the rights makes us ripe for manipulation as well. And we have to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right. That's true. That's true. All right, so we move on to the next question, which is, are you aware of the fact that Garinago have the right to own and be stewards of their lands that surrounds their community? This one was a little bit touchy, I'm sure, because everyone grew up thinking that the lands belong to the government, right? And they need to pay for it. So the results we got for this one is 42.7% said no. They are not aware of the fact that the lands that surround their communities and villages belongs to them, and they can be the owners and stewards. They should be the owners and stewards of the lands. That's a serious one, because if the people had known this from a long time ago, we wouldn't have been in this mess that we are today, whereby lands are being sold left, right, and center. Lands are being taken from you because you don't know you own this land. This land is yours, right? And then we have 57.3% saying yes, they know they own this land. But somewhere down the line, somewhere there, they weren't pushing the issue to take
Let's
control
look
of
at this
that
question,
land.
though. Let's look at this question a little closer, please, Brother Marley and
Explain a little,
Mr.
explain, Joe.
Fashioner. In this question, I could imagine the respondent saying, yes, of course, we have a right to own and be stewards of the lands that surround their communities, in terms of they have a right to apply for a title from the government. So I think a better question would have been, do you know, or are you aware of the fact that Garifuna have the right to and own the lands where our villages are, or something to that effect, and we have a right to basically autonomy? That's what this question was saying, but in a different way. So I think people could have misunderstood this question. So if they know, because if they know they have a right to be stewards in terms of indigenous rights, then number one, the first question says they don't even know about those rights. You see? So that's why I believe there may have been some confusion there. I don't know. What do you guys think?
That's possible, Joe. That's possible.
Mhm.
Your take is possible. Because for someone who is not thinking of this question as with an indigenous mindset, they would definitely say yes, looking at it. You know? Yeah. Yes. This question, yeah. But
again, it's still showing us that based on our people's knowledge, in their view, we were entitled to owning lands around our communities, but not communally. So you see, if you
right.
notice the previous question, in terms of communal land rights, there's limited knowledge or understanding of communal land rights, but the people were, yes, of the impression that they could be the stewards and owners of the lands around them. They assume that. So
Because
it's still an operating on ignorance.
Yeah.
There's a lack of knowledge there.
Yeah.
Because what I can say also is that, say for example in Georgetown, right? The people knows they own the land, right? But they don't know the technicalities of why they own the land. They just know they
Okay.
own it, right?
But they
Like,
think they're supposed to go through the title system, right? The title and
right,
thing, right? Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, so that was it for that. And the other question is, do you know that Garinago have been paying for land they already own in their villages?
Wait. I see here. Where is it? Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead, brother Mother. Sorry.
Good. So do you
Did you
know?
know that the
Oh,
Garifuna
sorry.
have been paying for lands they already own in their villages? Hey, let's go. Well, what was the response? Let's go. Let's go.
So yes, so we have 256 responses for this question, with 56.3% saying no and 43.8% saying yes.
Hmm.
Right? So
Bye. That's
more
including me,
people
bye. I pay for my land where I own, bye.
so more people didn't know, right? It was, it's unfortunate that we weren't educated to understand that we have been paying for lands we already own, right?
What
So
was the percentage that
But
responded?
that's debatable, right?
How so?
Because it's debatable because you're speaking about the ownership from the
Hmm.
standpoint of communal.
mhm.
Hmm.
Yes? And
Hmm.
if you have a large percentage of your respondents saying that they don't know anything about or know very little about us
Right.
communally owning land,
Hmm.
so it matches because it's almost that
Yeah,
same
that's
rate right
true.
Right,
That's a
there.
good way to look at it.
right,
Very good.
right,
Excellent. Yeah, I
It's
like
that
that.
same
I like that bit.
56 point so,
Yes,
so on percent
they don't know
that
that they're
also
paying for
didn't know
land they
about
already own.
communal land or our lands being communally owned. And so
Hmm.
that's why they wouldn't think of it like they're paying for land they already own because they
Yeah.
don't know that they own it communally.
right,
It's not,
right,
and it
Hmm.
and if we had it as a consciousness collectively as a people, then we would have been operating in that manner. But like you
Yes.
pointed out in the
We
last
did
two
at one
conversations,
time.
Brother Joseph,
Hmm.
we have taken on the land tenure system of the colonizer.
It was
So,
actually forced on us. It was coerced.
right.
We
So,
took it on, but it was coerced. Yes.
and because once they were in control of those lands, they did not allow us to control those lands, even
Not
though we
only
were
that, they didn't give us our land. They didn't sell it to us.
correct.
Everybody got for us.
And
right.
And the same thing is happening.
that was deliberately done.
Mhm.
And that's why even from the historical standpoint, well, more so from the historical standpoint, if we look at the Mayas, their case, they looked at history. That's where we have to go to, like you had mentioned in previous discussions. We have to look at our history and
Yes.
what transpired in the past in relation to our use of land and how the state dealt with us in relation to our use of the land.
Mhm.
Right,
So yeah,
right.
this is, again, so we're
So
not,
it matches up.
it's
It
called it
matches up.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Nice.
That's why
Wow.
we might have been thinking one thing, right? Remember, we've been talking and thinking things,
Hmm.
but now we have evidence.
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
right. And it shows that the people who didn't know, they were consistent and honest with their answers, because it reflects in the results.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's clear. Right? We need this education. We need this education. This research was
Mhm.
important. This is a very important research. Okay. So the next question is, are you aware of Garinago right to take the government of Belize to court to correct the violation of Garifuna land rights and indigenous right? Right on the screen.
Okay.
So
And what
we,
was the response we got?
yeah, so we got
Oh,
256 responses, with 53.5% saying no, they are not aware that Garinago have the right to take the government of Belize to court. So 53.5% have no idea that they
Yeah,
have
that's
a
136 people.
Mhm. The majority, the
right,
majority
Yeah,
do not know,
right,
do not know. Yeah.
right, and then we have 46.5% saying yes, they are aware
Hmm.
of the fact that the Garifuna can take the government of Belize to court to correct the violation of Garifuna land rights and indigenous rights. So there is a little bit of awareness there,
Yeah, that's
right?
partial awareness. So some people probably have become aware of that we can take the government to court, and maybe the Maya land rights case has something to do with that.
yes,
Right,
yes, yes.
right, right. They have heard something or seen something somewhere,
Hmm.
you know?
I'm sure,
So,
if to me, if I were somebody who didn't know and the Maya won the rights, and I know we are like the Maya, I would say to myself, we have probably have the right too, but
right,
nobody educated us. I mean, this has been going on for what, about 200 years. That this is what I call it, Ifashna. We have dysfunctionally adjusted after Urume. And this is a part of that dysfunctional readjustment. I don't think we've readjusted in a healthy way to the new systems and the new world. Because remember, for us, Karinago, this is a new world. Our
right.
land is in Urume, right? So to me, this reflects what I suspect is a historical continuum. We just did not recover well after Urume, and I think this is a part of it.
Yeah, because I remember we were essentially a displaced people, so it would have taken to me some time for us to own within ourselves the lands we were occupying. That's
Yes, can you imagine being someone from Urume? You come from a war, you're traumatized after Baliso, half of them died. You had that long trip, then you have to come, and then you have to start all over again. Anybody could come to you and tell you a lie, and you'll believe it. And the British came and told us a lie, that we had to buy our own land that we had before they came to us. Only a traumatized people will believe that. The Maya never believed it, but
Yeah,
here's
we,
another
we,
thing.
we
It's
mhm.
interesting with this question too, because there also might be, if not confusion, added ignorance in relation to our indigeneity, our indigenous identity, because Garinago do not necessarily, the average Garifuna person might not see themselves as in the way that the Mayas see themselves, or that we are a grouping similar to the Maya. That might also be something that is a factor to pay attention to, and a gap that needs to be filled. An area for education is for our population to also understand our indigenous identity, that it is part and parcel of who we are. And
Now,
we should not allow people to play games with us, because there are
mhm,
many who love to play that game. uh, when it comes to our Afro identity, they'll say, "Oh, well, aren't they indigenous or are they African?" Well,
everybody
here
is,
what?
yeah.
We're not our father or our mother. We are a combination of our father and our mother. And in the case of Garifuna, genetically as well as culturally, we are a combination of Kalinago, Arawaks, and Africans. That is who
Mhm.
we are.
And
We
the
are a
DNA shows
combination
it.
of all of
right.
The
those.
DNA shows it, guys.
And so if you're going to ask about our Afro-descendant identity, we have that. It is very evident. But if you're going to ask about our indigenous identity, that too is evident.
Mhm.
That
Well,
too
you
is
know
evident.
something? We have two ways that we have to look at this, guys. We have our own perspective, and we have the perspective that has affected us, I think, even more than our perspective, which is that of the colonizers. Alex Goff, in his study, he discusses that he goes right off the top. He starts off with a bang. One, notedly missing from the Maya land rights case are the Garifuna. Two, he says in a meeting we had where Alex was present, he said the Garifuna were not looked at as indigenous. And the reason why is probably because we are Black. And so the British, if you look at the history, never treated us as indigenous / tribal peoples because they came and they wanted to charge us right away for land that we already were occupying before they took over the territory around us.
But you
Now,
know
that's very
what's
funny.
ironic about that, Brother Joseph, is the fact that they referred to us as Caribs.
Yes, they did.
In all their writings, they referred to us as Caribs.
Yeah, and the writing says that the culture was indistinguishable from the yellow people or whatever else they want to say, the red, the culture among all the Caribs was indistinguishable. But yet, here in this area, and I came across some exciting research today, it seems Garifuna were actually all over the Americas. Actual Garifuna, because there's record of them being in Honduras from I think around the 1500s, but that's research that I'm still continuing. But what I'm talking about, Ifashna and Brother Marlin, is the way that we were treated legally. In 1981 or in the 1980s after we got independence, the first thing that the government did, I think it was under George Price at the time, the Right Honorable George Price, the first thing they did was to pass this Land Rights Act or Belize Land Act, Crown Land Act, where they made Garifuna territory Crown land. So bold moves like that is what you call a land grab. Now, the ILO 169 was ratified about 8 years later. And prior to that, it was a statement or declaration. I forgot the way that it goes. But even when it's a statement or declaration, the ILO you're still bound to follow them. So what they did at that time after independence was illegal for the indigenous people. And there was already the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, the UNDRIP. There were also human rights documents. And we, Garinago, I don't know what happened, but somewhere along the way, the whole system, the outside system and the inside system just failed the group in Belize. In Belize, it's particularly hurtful because we've had so many opportunities. But somewhere along the way, all the systems, they just broke down on us. And it's only now that we're trying to recover from the systems being broken down. And the system being the land tenure system. They were very aggressive after independence, taking our land from us and taking the Maya's land and taking Barranco and giving logging concessions to people without our pre-prior informed consent, where they came, took the wealth of the land and didn't give the landowners anything. The same thing they did with the jetty area, where they sold our land to someone, didn't get our consent, and then they took the profit. It's the same way when they sell our land to us and take the profit, and they sell our land to non-Garinaga and take the profit, and Garifuna gets nothing. So
Right.
for somewhere the system just broke down on us, and it's time for us to put Humpty Dumpty back together, I think.
And Brother Joe and Sister Ifa, keep in mind too that we are African descendants, we people of color, right? So
Mhm.
we weren't looked at as indigenous people, because if you are African descendant, most likely you are brought here by a slave owner, or you've been bought by a slave owner. So there's no way they see you as someone who's indigenous. You are not
But
free,
that's,
and to
but
be
you see,
indigenous, you gotta be free,
yeah, but that's the
right?
thing right there.
Mhm.
Again, history. This is where history comes in,
Yes,
because
indeed.
there is substantial evidence of
Mhm.
African people being here long before Europeans, and certainly long before the transatlantic slave trade. That has been long established. I mean, Maya culture, their ancient civilization, shows direct evidence of African contact. It was Africans that got Mayas to advance civilization. And that is proven by the presence of the Olmec civilization. And it
Right.
isn't accidental that when you look at the Americas, the only space where you find evidence of advancement in terms of civilization, and when we talk about civilization, we're talking about city building, having your own written language, having your own government system, your own religion, your own social structure. That's what a civilization is. And the Mayas, if you look at within this hemisphere, from north to south, where you find the evidence of civilization is Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and then Peru, where the Inca civilization in South America was established. Those are the only spaces where you find the evidence of advanced civilization.
Right.
So it's the earliest is the Olmec civilization. And the Olmec civilization, when you look at the evidence, which you I mean you can see, is clearly African, and it has been connected to the continent of Africa as well. So many scholars, yes, will try to argue, because they're using this information against us, even though we have eyes to see. But when you look up the Olmec heads and you see those colossal heads, you see us, you see our features right there before our eyes. And here in Belize, when we look at the Mass Temple at Lamanai, again, you see those same features. It's because we had such a great influence on the indigenous people. Now if people would truly understand the term indigenous, it is you are the original inhabitants of a space. And if we are going to truly look at history, then the indigenous people of the world are African people, because we are the first people. Before any other people existed, we were the ones that existed from creation. So for us to be a group that is now both ethnically and culturally a hybridization of Africans and those indigenous peoples of the Americas, in this case, specifically the Kalinagos and the Arawaks, it's to me indigenous squared, to use a math term, right? We are twice indigenous, because we descend from the indigenous people of the world, being African people, and also we descend from the indigenous people of the Americas, being the Kalinagos and Arawaks. And those people still exist. They didn't die out. They
Mm-hmm.
still exist. So if you go to South America, you can still find those people. So when we look, I mean, that places us in a very unique, interesting, powerful to me position as a people, as
Brother
Garinagu.
Marley, Brother
Yeah,
Marley,
yes, yes, Joe.
I don't know how good your Garifuna is, if passion. Mine is non-existent. But if you guys go into the rainforest there in South America. You guys can talk to those people, you know. You can talk to them. You will
Well,
understand
I
it.
can tell you this. I can tell you this. I visited
Mhm.
Dominica 2 years ago. And
Mhm.
when I visited their Kalinago territory, because like I tell you, Kalinago still exists. And the ones in Dominica, when I visited their community center, they have a museum and everything. And there was a listing of words that they use. And they still use some of the same words that we use.
Yeah. Mhm.
The exact same words that we use.
Mhm.
They were displaying that they still use those words. So that's just the language. But when they take you on a tour, because they give you a tour, you look at what they have as their kitchen space, for example. Look, they still produce cassava, bread.
The same way, the same
Yes,
exact way.
Right.
Mhm.
they still do that.
You
So
see that in
it's
South America too, among the Indians. In the
right.
rainforest, you go there, you see the same thing.
Well, don't call them Indians, Brother Joseph,
But
because they're
yeah,
not
the
from
native,
India,
the native. They say the
right?
native.
The
Mhm.
natives there, those people who are
Right.
from there, and they have their names. So
Mhm.
when we are decolonizing,
Mhm.
these are some of the things we must change,
Yeah.
even
Correct. Correct.
how we refer to ourselves and how we refer to others who were here before Columbus got lost, before Europeans knew the world was wrong, right? Because we knew that, Africans knew that, and the natives of this hemisphere also knew that this world was wrong. That's why they could have populated the islands, because they knew that if you set out on the Caribbean Sea, you're not going to fall off the face of the earth. They knew that. They knew that long before Europeans were experimenting about it and having court cases
That's
about it
true.
and prosecuting anyone who suggested it,
Hmm.
right?
In
They
fact, Columbus set out to prove it wasn't
exactly.
Right.
And when if you were to say something like that, you could be executed for daring to say the world is wrong, that you're not gonna
Hmm.
fall off the face of it. And that's why they emptied their prisons to staff his ships, right? Because okay, if they fell off, then they will just be all the criminals anyways. You see? So we need to know, we need to understand our history, and some of us seem to feel this tug of war, right? And it went on into how we have been socialized over the years, because we go through this battle over brother and sister, half brother, half sister, um, your ma, your pa, who you're related to, right? The bottom line is genetically you are who you are. And we know, even when we look at I digress just a little to make this point, but
Yeah.
even when we look at our spirituality, even if you grew up as a Creole in a Creole household speaking only Creole, or outside of a Garifuna community altogether with no connection whatsoever to your ancestry, if your ancestors requested the good and want you there, guess what? It doesn't matter where you are, you're coming. They're gonna you're gonna get sick, or you're gonna get a dream, or you're gonna only have, but you will be. And that's genetic. So even if you didn't think you were Garifuna, if you never said I am Garifuna, you were at the end of the day, if you are genetically Garifuna, the DNA of your ancestors, you can't erase that. It's still there. So if we understand that, then we do not, no one must make us feel like we must choose between, are we Afro descendants or are we indigenous? We are both. We are Afro indigenous. We are indigenous squared. Simple. So anytime anybody want to ask the question, yeah, we are indigenous squared. What do you mean? Well, Africans are the indigenous people
From
of the
any
world, and we are
direction.
African. And we and Kalinagos and Caribs, how the Europeans call them, and the Arawaks, they are indigenous to this hemisphere, and we are part of them too. They are part of us as well. So we are indigenous squared. Period in a story. We
Correct.
have to recognize our identity. But our time is running out. So let's see the finishing of this wonderful survey.
Yeah. Oh, we're back on track, right? The next question is, do you think Garinago should go to court to assert their communal land rights?
Oh,
And
music to my ears.
this one is a big wow. Right?
Music
Yeah.
to my ears.
We have 255 responses for this question. Right? With we have 5.5% saying no. That
And
leaves
I
us
dare
with
say they are the non-Garinago.
that's probably right.
Well, you could
Right?
always you'll be able to verify that, Marley. Once you start to really go into the spreadsheet, you'll be able to see who
I didn't
are the ones that said so.
No, I didn't collect like specific details about persons. Right?
Yes, but you asked, there's a question that says, are you Garifuna? And there are people that said yes, and there are people that said no.
Yes.
So it'll be, you can find out of the people that said no, how many of them also said that we shouldn't go to court.
Yes, there are room for it. There is room for it. But what I'm saying is that it will be challenging to find out exactly who these people are.
I am telling you.
No, I checked it already. Right? Because I didn't want to collect people personal data.
Right.
To have to give them that sense of security that it's okay to do the survey.
Yes, right? It's just to see, Marley, listen, it's just to see. If you see that there was 11 people or however many there were that said they were not Garifuna, right? If you when you filter that spreadsheet,
okay, I understand you now,
and only look at the findings from the responses from that group of people, you will see how many of them, how they answered this question.
And I got you now. I get you now because it was 8 non-Garifuna, and it's 7. No, it's 10 saying no.
Yes.
So that gives me an
easy to see. Yeah, it's easy to see if it's them that's saying that or it's Garinago that are saying that.
But
right?
But there are other details that I can look up to find that out. Right? But we won't go into that right now. Right? So we got
let's analyze this response. Do you think
let me give the percentage of the yes. We have 94.5% saying yes. Right? And that shows that yes, people have some sort of knowledge, there's something there.
Well, they are saying let's go to court.
Look at the way 240 respondents are saying
yes.
Yeah, we should do this. We should go and fight this matter.
Overwhelming. That's overwhelming.
Well, that to me that's
now
that shows that the people will and are interested.
I have been in contact with some very influential people in the Garifuna community. And they have always told me Garifuna people are not interested in going to court at all. They don't even want land rights. That's what I was told for the last so many years. That's what I've been told. This is complete opposite of what I've been told by these people. Because every time I ask them about it, they said, no, Garifuna, they don't want land rights. They don't want to go to court. They just want to get a title and that's it. This is not saying that to me. This is clear that the people, they want to go to court for their land rights. It's crystal clear.
And Joe, remember that the narrative is changing at a fast pace too, right? If you compare last year to this year, if you would talk to someone about Garinago communal land rights, the narrative is changing really fast, right? People are getting more and more interested in the topic, They're getting that little bit of knowledge and they're holding on to it, waiting for more. So the narrative is like changing at a fast pace. I can say that because I have conversations with people, right? And from time to time, they would ask me certain questions, which would indicate that, oh yes, they are interested in this topic and they are learning day by day. So if you would go back to those people who told you that Garinago does not want to go to court, and explain the findings of the survey to them, they will tell you like, no, you're not telling me the truth. But they don't see, or they haven't had a conversation with other people who are interested in going to court.
And it's not what this is showing you too. It's not that there aren't Garinago. It's clearly showing you there are people who, even Garinago, who might say, no, we don't need to go to court or shouldn't go to court. And where the thing is, the person that said that to Brother Joseph, they didn't have any evidence to support their notion. And what's their sample? How many people did they actually speak to? Did they speak to 258 people? Did they get the opinions of 258 people? You understand? So, or 250. Even if we say take out the 8 that didn't identify as Garinago, 250 people, did they speak to 250 people, or did they only speak to 2 people, 5 people, 10 people? You understand? So they could say that's their view based on who they spoke with. And Wachari can say, well, we spoke to 250 Garinago, and this is what they said.
Right.
Was that the last question?
There's one more. Yeah, but this 94.5% saying yes, we want to go to court. To me, that proves that Garinago are interested in owning their land.
Absolutely.
Right? They are interested in being stewards of their land.
Now that's interesting. Marley, what I believe, and I would like both of you to give me your opinion. What I believe is that this is saying they want to go to court to assert their communal land rights. But whatever it is, they don't understand the communal land rights referring to question 1, remember?
Right.
So what is that saying? Is that saying that communal land rights, they think it means everybody get a title from government? Those are the kinds of confusion that I think we need to clear up. Communal land rights mean no title from the government. It means you get your Garifuna title, and you don't need to go to lands. You don't need to go to the minister to get approval, all of that. And it doesn't matter if you're PUP or UDP at all. If you're Garifuna, you should get your lot, your land from the Garifuna land office. And
so that's where the education comes in. Well, we've established that the education needs to happen so people could understand what communal land rights actually mean.
Exactly.
Because if you look at it, Joe, just by hearing go to court for land rights, most people are fed up of this system that we are currently using in our communities, that they are not getting headway trying to own a piece of property. Right? So the education that they will be getting will encourage them to more venture into the communal land tenure, whereby it is a guarantee that you will get a piece if you own everything communally, right?
Correct.
So going to court, either going to court is a yes, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where we will solve whatever problem. So to assert our communal land rights, 94.5% out of 255 people said, yes, I want to go to court.
That's overwhelming. I mean, that is awesome. That is awesome. They may not understand the rights, but they know they could go to court for it.
Right. Yeah, that's the most important part. Right. So the next question: will you support Garinago initiative to take the government of Belize to court for their rights. And we got 255 responses, and 97.6%.
Even higher than the previous one.
Yes. Said
so
yes.
The support is there to go to court.
Yep. 248 people said yes, that they would support us going to court. And what I like about this question is that it's looking, you see, it says support Garinagu initiative. Because so, it is saying that any Garinagu or any organized body of Garinagu who chooses to take this matter up, there will be support.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, our people want to ensure that our rights, that we get to enjoy our rights to our lands. So I like that. I like that.
Yes, so the support is there for us to take on this matter, you know. And when you said support is like, it's not necessarily financial support or just moral support. It's support means you are with us, you will stand with us, you will be there.
We
you know,
Garinagu Wagia. That's how I look at it.
Garinagu Wagia, right? And even it shows that even non-Garinagu are willing and ready to support the initiative.
Because Marley, let me show you something.
You got muted,
94, the 94.5, right? Versus the 97.6. So even the non-Garifuna who didn't agree with the other one, agree with this one to throw support. That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one, Joe. So it shows that the non-Garinagu who took the survey
were won over by the end of the survey.
Yeah. They actually challenged some Garinagu who didn't want to support in this last question.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a good one for ending there.
Yes, and what I'm interested in finding out as we continue this discussion next week is then what would be the next steps? What will Wachari do with this information? What activities can we look out for? Because this definitely provides sufficient background or information to guide actions. We already established, for example, the importance of educating the population about communal land rights. And so it's only fitting that next week we discuss that in greater detail. We're even looking at the Maya land rights case and how communal land rights is treated in different countries and within different contexts and so on. I think this is the perfect way to start that education campaign is discussing communal land rights in greater detail so that our people understand what it means for us. So I would say that we should definitely continue next week on that note. And I'm very pleased with the findings. I'm glad that we were able to get so many Garinagu, 250 to participate. And maybe next time we would be able to get even more than that, you know. But this is a start, and it's a good start.
I would support another survey like farther down the road, as a different set of questions when we're already in the court, you know, to get further support from the wider community.
Yes.
Get their more involvement from them, right? So, but the results to me look pretty convincing that Garinagu want autonomy. Garinagu want to own their land. They want to be stewards of the land. They want their land rights.
Yes.
That's what this results is showing.
Exactly. Well done. Well, looking forward to seeing you next week, and we will continue this discussion, especially in the area of communal land rights and understanding what that means for us as Garinagu. Thank you, brothers. Thanks to everybody who was tuned in. And we'll see you again right here next Monday for Wachari Nation Building Monday Live. Ceremony,
Yeah.
Well,
Before we leave, I want to promise everyone that this information will be available for the
Okay.
public to view and have their own say on it. But the information will be made available for the public.
Ceremony. Ayo.
Ayo.
oh, ayo.